So what went down? It appears.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys about Cardi B breaking up the fight between Quavo and Offset allegedly at the Grammys. There was another video that came out as well of them fighting potentially outside, but the quality of it is not great, so we can't say 100%. But either way, this opens up a really good end of conversation talking about grief and how grief really does impact people in their relationships. We know previously between obviously Quavo and Offset, how they had split just before Takeoff had passed away. Like I even remember watching some videos of them. I think it was on Breakfast Club, and they were talking about their now sudden pursuit and change of just them two as the Migos. And I was like, oh, okay, so just them two now. So Quavo and Takeoff. I wonder how that's going to work out, right? So clearly, there was some separation, or at least some kind of feeling or sentiment there already. And before that, also, if you remember, I remember I did a video about this. Quavo was talking about how, Takeoff actually kind of mentioned it in the interview where he didn't feel like he really wanted to rehash what had happened between them, but he said there was a violation that happened that, or at least Quavo then said there was a violation that happened that, you know what, they can't really come back from. Do you know what I mean? There's certain things that have happened that can't really come back from. So clearly there was some dissension in the ranks between the two parties, right, that were happening before Takeoff's passing. Then obviously Takeoff gets, murdered, and there are the way it happens. We can definitely make a play for the fact that maybe even just by being there, just by whatever took place beforehand, before Takeoff gets murdered, that Quavo might even be feeling a little bit of guilt. As a human being, you can feel some remorse and say, if I did this or that, maybe my nephew wouldn't have been killed. And that's another that relationship in general. The fact that that's his nephew, was like that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't done this, if I hadn't gone there, if I hadn't done this, if I wasn't at a party, if I hadn't said this, maybe this wouldn't have happened. There's a guilt that can eat up a man as well, when he might think that he may have contributed towards a passing of somebody he really cares about. And so this is all aspects of it as well that can be playing into a scenario. So when someone passes, what can happen? It can go either way. People can go, do you know what? Let's let bygones be bygones, because that was so powerful, so painful to have someone pass, that, you know what, let's move on and let's focus on us. But remember, the reunion doesn't mean the reuniting or the reconciliation of Quavo and Offset, and there could be even some frustration and anger on Quavo's side, thinking, if you had stayed with us in the group, this wouldn't have happened either. Again, when you're in grief and when you're in pain and when you're feeling like when someone has passed, the want to feel better, the want to end the pain that's happening, can lead people to displacing their anger onto other people, because they can't put their finger quite right on what on this on who to blame. Because sometimes, at least in this area, of course, there's somebody who obviously took Takeoff from us, but the other aspect is sometimes you can feel like it's come too soon. And so you want to put your blame not only just on the person who murdered, but then you want to put your blame on the world. And then sometimes you put the blame on the very people that are right next to you, right? And really, they're not really to blame, but because of the anger, the frustration, the hurt, the wounds that you're feeling, and sometimes as men, our inability to express ourselves in healthy manners, we can lead us to now fighting one another, right? Because we need something to release this tension that we're feeling within ourselves. But in grief too, and when someone's passed, the things that were unresolved can come right back up. And when we talk about grief, it talks about your baseline energy is depleted, making it harder to keep your anger and frustration down, right? And your annoyance in check. And sometimes it just spills out because your self-control at that moment is you don't even want to be self-controlled. You want someone to feel the way that you do in that moment, because a loss is so painful. There's no other way but to lash out, in a sense, right? And so the unresolved issues can turn into beefs between two people very, very quickly, as well, right? So I wanted to say this for any man out there as well, like, don't be afraid to talk to someone. And that doesn't mean you have to talk to a therapist per se, but don't be afraid to talk to someone who will listen to you, who will admonish you, who will hear you, who will respect your truth and what you're going through. having wounds because someone passed is not going to make you weak. It's not weak to share how you feel as a man. I want to do a separate video about this, not necessarily about grief, but in terms of showing emotion. It's not weak to show emotions, right? It's not weak to share how you feel. We all need support networks in life. And when you're going through things, and in fact, this is even biblical. When you see David and Jonathan, David is being pursued by King Saul. And David has been a good son to King Saul, but King Saul, in his jealousy and envy, tries to kill David several times, right? To the point where David's in the field and Jonathan has to come to speak to David and tell him, listen, you need to go because my dad's trying to kill you. What solace that David had was that he can confess how he felt to Jonathan. That was his soul brother or soul mate, you want to call it, someone might say. That was a brother that really was invested in not just who King David was, but what he was about and how he felt. And so having that support means that you can go through moments like this and other moments like it that are painful, and you can share the load, right? Joy cometh in the morning, weeping may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. But, mourn with those who are mourning and rejoice with those who are rejoicing. It means in those seasons, support people, right? And so as men, as Quavo and Offset are beefing, we know that this sometimes what happens is brothers will beef and get angry and they put the blame somewhere else. But hopefully what they can do is they can sit down and converse. And shout out to Cardi B for telling them, listen, hey, this is not how we do things, and making them think in that moment it's not about what you feel. It's not about you two going to blows. That's not going to help anything. You need a woman like that. And I have to shout out Cardi B, saying, you know what, her mind was on making sure the family don't beef. You know what I mean? The family don't win when the family beef this way, especially in the public eye and media as well. So yeah, this, when I saw this, I was like, okay, I feel some empathy for both these black men because how close they were to Takeoff, but also as well how groups are formed in terms of music and how people want to go their solo career, people want to do their own thing, and it can cause dissension and anger because people can think to themselves, you've left us behind, we've been abandoned. But people get a bit more time and they'll begin to mature and grow, and they realize, you know what, you had to go and do your thing, you had to fly your wings at the nest. I'm not angry at you. And that's one aspect. Like I said, there are many other things that are probably happening between Quavo and Takeoff. Quavo and Offset, which people speculated about whether it was a Sweetie situation and stuff like that. There are many things that are happening. So, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button. Any man out there specifically as well, don't forget, reach out to somebody, man. Do you know what I mean? Trust a person. I do coaching as well. It's not free, I'm not gonna lie to you, but we do coaching. And if you're a man out there and you need someone to talk to, you need someone to, have a soundboard with, then listen, by all means, shout me, hit me up. Appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay later. We'll see you again very, very soon for another good, full video. And let me know your thoughts.